Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling drained, frustrated, or even furious, only to realize later that the other person got exactly what they wanted? Why do some people seem to control our emotions so easily? And more importantly, how do we stop letting them? If you've ever felt manipulated, provoked, or emotionally hijacked, this video is for you. We're diving deep into the art of emotional self-mastery. How to stay calm in the face of chaos, how to silence the noise without suppressing your truth, and how to win battles without ever throwing a punch. But before we begin, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're committed to mastering yourself, growing stronger every day, and living with unshakable inner peace. Let's dive in. 1. Understanding toxic people. They feed on reaction. Toxic people are not inherently powerful. Despite how dominant or influential they may appear, their real power doesn't come from strength. It comes from the reactions they provoke in others. Their energy is parasitic. They thrive on attention, emotional chaos, and the psychological energy of those they entangle. What empowers them isn't their words or actions, but your reaction to them. This is the trap they set. They poke, they prod, they insult, or guilt trip, and when you respond with anger, frustration, or defensiveness, they feel validated. Your emotional response is fuel for their fire. To them, it's not about truth, fairness, or connection, it's about control. If they can dictate how you feel or how you act, then they own a part of you. But here's the truth that sets you free. Your reaction is their reward. They feed off emotional energy. If they can get you to snap, cry, explain yourself endlessly, or spiral into self-doubt, they've succeeded. You become caught in their emotional storm, and while you're busy reacting, they stay in control of the narrative. This is why understanding the nature of toxic individuals is critical. Their tactics are often subtle at first, passive-aggressive comments, backhanded compliments, guilt-laden questions. Over time, their patterns become more obvious. They thrive in drama, create division, and manipulate emotions to keep themselves at the center. So what do? You stop feeding the monster. This doesn't mean you become passive or submissive. Quite the opposite. You choose a higher path: awareness, restraint, and emotional clarity. When you stop reacting, they lose their grip. Their influence begins to fade, and what once felt like a constant battle becomes something distant, no longer your responsibility to solve or suffer through. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus offered a timeless reminder. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This idea is more than philosophy. It's a powerful strategy for emotional freedom. If you can control your reaction, you control your peace. You protect your time, your energy, and your dignity. Think about it this way. Toxic people try to drag you into their storm, but if you stay calm, they're forced to face their chaos alone. That's where their power dissolves. And remember, the real battlefield isn't out there. It's inside your mind. It's in the split-second decision not to take the bait. It's in the moment you choose not to argue. It's in the choice to stay grounded when someone else is losing control. Understanding toxic people means recognizing that their strength is an illusion. Once you see their tactics clearly, they become predictable, and predictable is manageable. When you stop reacting, they lose the game, and when you stop playing altogether, you win your peace. 2. Emotional discipline, the ultimate power move. Emotional discipline isn't flashy. It won't get applause. It's not about grand displays or dramatic comebacks. But make no mistake, it's one of the most powerful traits a person can develop. Think of emotional discipline like a muscle. At first, it's weak. The urge to defend yourself, to retaliate, or to correct someone who wrongs you feels overwhelming. But every time you choose patience over rage, clarity over chaos, and silence over shouting, you strengthen that muscle. You grow into someone unshakable. Resisting the urge to lash out or defend yourself doesn't mean you're being a doormat. It means you understand that not every battle deserves your energy. It means you value peace over petty victories. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This principle is the heart of emotional discipline. You don't control what others say or do, but you always control how you respond. When someone lies about you, insults you, or tries to pull you into their drama, you have a choice. React and give them control, or respond with purpose and keep your power. Here's the secret. Toxic people want chaos. They want you to react impulsively so they can claim the moral high ground. They want you to look unstable so they can play the victim. But if you remain calm, they are exposed. They have nothing to bounce their toxicity off of. Every time you choose emotional discipline, you're not just protecting your peace, you're breaking the pattern. You're disrupting the game they depend on. And over time, they'll either change their approach or disappear from your life entirely. But discipline isn't about suppression. You're not burying your feelings or pretending things don't hurt. You're simply learning how to channel those feelings constructively. You're choosing who you want to be, even in the face of disrespect. That's real strength. It's easy to be calm when life is calm. The real test is staying composed in the storm. And the more you train your emotional discipline, the less power the storm holds over you. In a world where people are quick to react, the ability to pause, breathe, and choose a measured response is a superpower. It's a declaration: I own myself. I won't be moved by every provocation. That's not weakness. That's mastery. 3. The strategy of silence, the power of non-reaction. Here's a radical idea. You don't have to respond to everything that offends you. In fact, the most powerful response you can give to certain people and situations is none at all. Silence isn't submission. It's not cowardice, it's strategy. In a world driven by noise, the one who remains quiet often holds the most power. Toxic people are masters of manipulation, and they want you to engage. They want the back and forth, the defense, the emotional eruption. It gives them fuel and keeps them relevant in your life. But when you choose silence, you break the loop. Think of silence as a shield. It protects your energy. It keeps you from wasting time arguing with people who have no interest in understanding you. It preserves your dignity when someone is trying to drag you down to their level. Non-reaction is a message in itself. It says, you don't control me, you don't define me, and you don't deserve a place in my mental space. This doesn't mean you stay silent in the face of injustice or mistreatment. It means you learn to discern what's worth your voice and what's just noise. Every time you choose not to respond to bait, you teach people how they can and cannot interact with you. Silence shifts power dynamics. When someone lashes out and you don't engage, they're left to deal with their own aggression. Their need for validation goes unmet. Their attempt to control you falls flat. In a chaotic room, the calmest person has the most influence. Non-reaction isn't about apathy, it's about intention. You're choosing your battles. You're conserving your energy for things that truly matter. And in doing so, you become immune to the manipulation of those who seek to provoke you. As the Stoics believed, peace is an inside job. You don't owe anyone a reaction. Not every insult needs a reply. Not every jab needs a counterpunch. So the next time someone tries to pull you into their chaos, remember, silence is not weakness. It's control. It's wisdom. It's the ultimate disruption to dysfunction. Because when you stay centered, they're forced to wrestle with their own noise without dragging you into it. 4. Training for mental resilience. Mental strength doesn't appear out of nowhere. It's earned. It's not something that's simply granted by nature or unlocked through a single epiphany. Like a muscle, it must be challenged, strained, and rebuilt over time. Mental resilience, the ability to remain steady and composed in the face of pressure, is the result of deliberate training, repeated exposure to adversity, and a conscious decision to remain in control no matter the chaos around you. Just like athletes train their bodies through discipline, repetition, and discomfort, you train your mind the same way. You don't build strength by running from pain, you build it by meeting it head-on. Every insult you endure without retaliation, every snide comment you don't absorb, every stressful moment you handle without lashing out is a rep in your emotional gym. That's how you condition yourself, not through comfort, but through confrontation, with difficulty, with the intention of mastering your reaction. The mistake many people make is waiting until they feel mentally strong before facing challenges. But the truth is, you don't get strong and then endure hardship. You get strong by enduring it. If someone tries to provoke you and you resist the urge to react impulsively, you've just completed a rep. If someone doubts you or disrespects you and you respond with calm focus instead of anger, you've just trained your emotional endurance. Mental resilience is not about becoming numb. It's not about pretending things don't affect you. It's about feeling everything but choosing your response wisely. It's about staying in the driver's seat when your emotions threaten to take the wheel. The more you practice stillness in the face of provocation, the more immune you become to chaos. Eventually, what once triggered you now teaches you. The anger you used to feel when someone belittled you transforms into a quiet awareness of their immaturity. The anxiety you used to feel in conflict shifts into a calm analysis of the situation. The need to be understood by others fades as you begin to deeply understand yourself. And through that shift, you begin to gain true power. The power that comes from self-mastery. Growth happens when you stop seeing toxic people as threats and start seeing them as opportunities to level up your emotional control. You can't always avoid difficult people. You will encounter co-workers who gossip, family members who manipulate, and strangers who provoke. But instead of dreading these encounters, you begin to reframe them. Every interaction becomes a training session. Every test becomes a step toward your higher self. When someone tries to get under your skin, ask yourself, what's the lesson here? Are they exposing your insecurity? Are they revealing where you still seek validation? Or are they just highlighting their own lack of inner peace? When you approach these moments with curiosity instead of judgment, you rob them of their power over you. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It requires reflection. Journaling about your triggers. Identifying the moments you lost control, not to shame yourself, but to understand. Over time, you begin to notice patterns. You begin to recognize the difference between real danger and emotional noise. And with that awareness comes freedom. Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That's the core of mental resilience. The world will never stop testing you, but you have the choice to respond with power or to react with weakness. And each day, you train yourself in that choice. So the next time someone pushes your buttons, thank them quietly, internally. They're giving you a chance to train, to become stronger, to master yourself, because mental resilience isn't built in peace. It's built in the fire of real life. 5. Breaking the cycle. Recognizing manipulation. Manipulative people aren't always easy to spot, but their tactics are remarkably consistent. While their words may change depending on the context, their behaviors follow a script. It's a psychological pattern designed to keep you predictable, pliable, and confused. They thrive in the fog of emotional entanglement, where you begin to question your own instincts while prioritizing their needs over your boundaries. Manipulators are not creative. They don't have to be. They rely on repetition because it works. They exploit your emotional habits, your guilt, your empathy, your fear of confrontation. They poke at your weaknesses until you start playing your role automatically. You become the peacekeeper, the fixer, the one who bends first just to keep the relationship going. If you keep reacting the same way, you're playing a part in their performance. They push and you yield. They guilt trip and you explain. They invalidate you and you try harder to be understood. But this cycle doesn't end because they suddenly change. It ends when you change your response. Here's the truth. Forgiveness without boundaries is permission. When someone violates your trust and you continue to give them unlimited access to your emotional world, you're not teaching them a lesson. You're teaching them that there are no consequences, that you'll always come back, that their behavior is tolerable. This isn't forgiveness. It's self-betrayal dressed in the costume of virtue. Tolerating toxic behavior doesn't make you noble. It makes you trapped. It keeps you locked in a loop of emotional instability where your well-being depends on the moods of someone else. It chips away at your confidence, your clarity, and your ability to trust your instincts. And over time, it erodes your identity. Breaking this cycle begins with recognition. Start noticing the patterns. Do they always play the victim when you set a boundary? Do they only show warmth when you comply? Do they use silence, guilt, or passive aggression as tools to manipulate your emotions? These aren't random acts. They are tactics. Once you recognize the manipulation, the next step is choosing clarity over confusion. Manipulators thrive when you second-guess yourself. That's why your greatest weapon is composure. When you stay calm, you take away their leverage. When you respond instead of react, you disrupt their control. Refusing to play the same old emotional games isn't easy. At first, it feels like loss. You may feel guilty. You may doubt your decision. You may feel pressure to return to the familiar roles that once kept the peace. But that's just the discomfort of growth. You're not being cruel. You're being clear. You're not being heartless. You're being honest. The strongest boundary you can set is consistency. Don't explain it 15 times. Don't argue about it endlessly. Set it, hold it, and walk in alignment with it. You don't have to convince them. You don't need their agreement. You only need your own integrity. And here's what happens when you do. The cycle breaks. You begin to reclaim your energy. You begin to see manipulation for what it is. Not a reflection of your worth, but a reflection of their control issues. You stop feeling guilty for walking away from dysfunction. You stop trying to save people who benefit from your exhaustion. Breaking the cycle doesn't always mean cutting people off, but it does mean cutting off access to your peace, your time, and your emotional energy until they earn it through respect and responsibility. Some people will adjust. Others won't. But either way, you're no longer stuck in the loop. You are allowed to say no without explanation. You are allowed to leave the table when respect is no longer being served. You are allowed to protect your peace without apology. That is not selfish. It's survival. So the next time someone tries to drag you back into their pattern, pause, breathe, and remember, clarity, composure, and consistency are your tools. You are no longer performing in their drama. You are rewriting the script. And in this version, you win. Your freedom is an inside job. Letting go of toxic people is only part of the equation. True freedom? It's when you let go of needing their approval, their validation, or their permission to feel okay. You reclaim your power the moment you decide, I choose peace over provocation. I choose self-respect over reaction. I choose to be free. This is emotional mastery. This is your path to inner freedom. So, if this message hit home, if you're ready to build your mental armor and master the power of calm, subscribe, share, and take the first step toward becoming emotionally untouchable. You have the power. Now it's time to claim it.